Let's start. I hope I'm audible to everyone, right? And friends and attendees who all have joined, and our partners and customers, right? Feel free to put on your questions in the question box, and at the end of the presentation, we would be answering them, right? Having said that, good afternoon, everyone, right? On behalf of 42Gears, I would like to welcome every one of you to this webinar, Applications of SureMDM and Intel vPro, right? My name is Swapnil Sahu, and I'm the Global Partnership Manager here at 42Gears. Today's session is very special as we are going to talk about our collaboration with Intel. It's a collaboration that solves some of the major issues plaguing endpoint management, especially those related to the PCs, laptops, large screen displays, digital signage, and standalone kiosks. Plus, we will see how the 42Gears Intel joint solution helps solve real-life use cases. I'm very honored and pleased to be joined by esteemed colleagues from Intel, Mr. Corey T. Morris and Mr. Pham T. Minh, who are both senior technical specialists for Intel vPro, with a focus on the Internet of Things, which includes retail, banking, hospitality, education, to name a few. Over to you, Corey.
No, thanks, Swapnil, for the introduction, and we're happy to be here today. We're excited to show everybody how Intel vPro combined with 42Gears software can really change how customers use and view remote manageability today. So we'll focus on some really specific use cases, show you the power of the out-of-band, which basically remote manageability below the operating system, and how Intel vPro will reduce total cost of ownership and then maximize that investment you made with Intel vPro devices using SureMDM console.
Great. Thank you, Corey. And as I told everyone, all our attendees before, that any questions, you have throughout the webinar, please share them in the chat box and keep your microphones muted. So let's get started, right? And that's the speaker slide. So that's me on the extreme left. We have the very talented Corey and also the equally talented Mr. Minh over there, right, from the Intel team. So moving on to the slide on agenda, let's begin with a high-level overview of what we will be covering today, right? First, we will quickly provide an introduction to 42Gears and what we do, right? Then we will introduce the partnership between Intel and 42Gears and how that partnership benefits our customers. Next, you all will learn about Intel vPro and Intel Active Management Technology, also known as Intel AMT, and why so many businesses find it useful. Finally, we will conclude by looking at some major industries that have found our joint solutions especially useful. We will then wrap up with the Q&A session, followed, before that, we will have a brief demonstration. Harvinder would take the demonstration. And with that, let's get started. Let's move to the next slide, please. So first of all, I would like to start by playing a short video to introduce, SureMDM, the 42Gears device management solution. Rohit, do we have the video file as well? We can quickly show them. Yeah, that's it. So let's play that.
Everywhere are providing mobile devices to their employees so they can connect and work from anywhere. But how can a company ensure the security and maintenance of its devices and prevent them from being misused? It's impossible to monitor everyone everywhere, but you don't have to worry about the staff's behavior when you have full control over your devices. SureMDM from 42Gears is a powerful and comprehensive enterprise mobility management solution. Just enroll your devices on SureMDM and set them up with your apps and preferences. You can do this with any number of devices and do it quickly. Your devices are now ready for your staff to take them anywhere. With a web console for centralized management, get a God's view of all your devices, track their location, and remotely control them wherever they are. The telecom expense management solution, get updates on data usage of each device and simply block excessive usage. You can also update and send apps, monitor device health, and troubleshoot anytime, and you do all of this remotely. Most importantly, be rest assured about the security of your company data. Send content remotely to any device in a secure manner, and it stays protected with containerization on the device. Lock your devices remotely, apply password policies, and wipe the data clean anytime. Now, isn't that end-to-end management of your devices? What about devices your employees bring to work? SureMDM helps you manage BYOD devices too, without affecting the privacy of your employees. With enterprise email access, VPN, and Wi-Fi configuration, employees can have secure access to company data. SureMDM provides hassle-free and secure authentication from the devices. You can remotely push identity certificates to them and manage the installed certificates. Official apps can be downloaded anytime from the Enterprise App Store, and a single sign-on enables easier access to your apps. You can secure your company data on their devices and wipe it anytime remotely. With a separate enterprise profile for their official work, their personal data on the device remains private. It can never be accessed by you or 42Gears. SureMDM allows you to manage multiple types of mobile devices running on Android, iOS, Chrome, Windows, and Linux platforms. Easy to set up, easy to use, easy to control. SureMDM, the enterprise mobility management solution from 42Gears.
Great. Yeah. Thank you for that, Rohit. And if we can now go back to the slide on our 42Gears, perspective. SureMDM is the management software enterprise, needs to remotely access and manage devices and keep them safe, whether they are company or employee owned. And SureMDM supports large-scale deployments and gives enterprises granular level control over their devices. This includes phone, tablets, computers, VR headsets, wearables, and more across all major operating systems, right? And speaking about 42Gears, we have been transforming digital workspaces across verticals, right? We have major industries for 42Gears, which include finance, logistics, transportation, healthcare, pharmaceuticals, retail, hospitality, manufacturing, and more. 42Gears is a rapidly growing company with over 5 million devices deployed across 115 countries. We are based in Bangalore, India, and have a second office in Rajkot, but we have also a substantial global reach outside India, right? To provide customers worldwide with the best experience possible. We have an office in California and in United Kingdom in Manchester. So in California, we have it in Fremont. We are also planning to expand our digital footprints, and have offices across all major continents, including Middle East, Africa, and Oceania region. Right. So with that said, in order to ensure our software provides and proves useful in many different contexts, we have partnered with over 130 OEMs, strategic partners like Intel we have here, and channel partners worldwide, and that number is growing all the time. Our customers benefit from large and highly driven R&D, product services, tech support teams, so they can always accomplish their goals and quickly recover, whenever there is any issue. So we have a strong customer support base. Right. And also, as I mentioned, earlier, we have a rapidly growing customer base and support a wide range of devices. We will be focusing on our unified endpoint management software today, but I wanted to quickly note that we offer a few additional products like Astra Contacts, Astra Farm, right? Astra Farm is basically a unique private device farm service that connects employees with the devices they need, even if those devices are miles away. Right. Let's move to the next slide on the Intel Active Management Technology and overview. So if customers have devices built around Intel vPro and 42Gears management software, they can enable Intel Active Management Technology, Intel AMT. Intel AMT is remote management above and beyond what most solutions can offer. With Intel AMT, you can control Intel vPro devices at any time in any state from anywhere on either a wired or a wireless connection. Corey, would you like to add some AMT insights here?
Yeah, that's correct, Swapnil. Yeah, I'd like to add some, definitely. So Intel AMT is basically the brains of all the manageability features found within the Intel vPro platform. So the vPro platform allows, it's a branded solution that has Intel AMT embedded down into the silicon. So the Intel AMT allows access to the vPro devices below, and I can't stress this enough, below the operating system, and we call that out of band. So this is a huge advantage over in-band solutions today, such as remote desktop or other remote management solutions that solely depend on the operating system to be working perfectly to gain access to that device. So with Intel AMT, you can power that device on from dead off. You can power it off, and you can even reset that device like you're hitting the reset button on the physical device itself. So this includes booting into the BIOS, and seeing that screen utilizing the Intel AMT keyboard video mouse connection that clearly shows we're below the operating system. And this typically can only be done when you're sitting in front of that device. So being able to see that remote screen in a BIOS level definitely shows you're below the operating system. So whether you need to recover from a security incident or troubleshoot the device or even load a new operating system remotely, you can stay in full control of that device and see it on the screen utilizing Intel AMT with the SureMDM console.
Great. Yeah, that's great, Corey. And to add to what you just said, any modern company needs a solution that can keep up with the rigorous demands of modern enterprise. Intel AMT provides exactly that solution. So what it does, it combines high performance and high security into a highly usable tool, accessible intuitively through the 42Gears console. And to speak more about the history, about this, and how we reached this particular spot. You see, traditionally, business devices were managed using client management tools or CMT. CMTs helped in deploying operating systems, distributing applications, managing patches, monitoring application usage, and gaining remote control of deployed machines. But not all CMTs helped in doing everything. I mean, IT admins had to use different tools for different purposes. As these devices evolved, the number of tools IT admins had to use to configure and manage them also increased. So now managing a mix of different CMTs was not only expensive and cumbersome, but in some cases also led to compatibility issues. And to add on the troubles, despite using so many tools, there were only a handful of issues that the IT guys could fix remotely. So in case of a technical fallout, either the user or the customer, had to drop off his laptop at the service station for repair and stay without the laptop, without any productivity, or the technician had to visit the site and technician had to invest his time and efforts over there, and that was also equally expensive. So, and also on top of that, not just that, even updating software releases and firmware, rebooting the system automatically, and enabling platform security features remotely was challenging for devices that are difficult to move, like point of sale or POS machines. And we will show this in the next slide. Let's move to the next slide on how 42Gears and Intel partner with each other and made things possible. Right? So managing Intel vPro hardware with 42Gears software. So we have the hardware of Intel and software of 42Gears. So that's the basic premise, and it offers great number of benefits. I just spoke about, and Corey also reiterated that the SureMDM console provides easy access to Intel AMT. This enables out-of-band management, which means you can manage Intel vPro devices from anywhere at any time. By constantly monitoring Intel vPro devices, you can catch potential issues before they cause device downtime or device shutdown. But if devices do have downtime, you can minimize the time devices are offline with remote troubleshooting. And I think this is what I would request Corey to, explain this in detail so that our audience would be able to understand that. Over to you, Corey.
You bet. Thanks, Swapnil. I'll try to paint a better picture so you can really get a grasp what this device does. So using Intel AMT, on your vPro devices is like putting yourself actually in front of that device virtually. So there's nothing you cannot do to that system short of a hardware failure. So as long as you have a network connection and you have power to that device, you'll be able to fully remotely control via hardware that platform. So for example, even if you reset the device or you see the OEM, you can see the OEM splash screen come up, you see the posts, you can actually enter the function keys. If you have a BIOS password that pops up on the screen, you'll actually be able to enter it remotely, and even pre-boot authentication like BitLocker, all remote. So that we'll be showing you some AMT use cases live here later in the webinar, so stay tuned.
Great. Yeah. So, remote power control is a huge impact. And as Corey said, these benefits ultimately result in a total lower cost of ownership. The total TCO becomes lower, if you are investing on a vPro hardware. And 42Gears also offers a 24/7 support. So anytime you have any issues, we are always there to, support you and help you. So with this, let's move to the next slide, which speaks more about the Intel and 42Gears partnership. 42Gears and Intel have worked very closely, since 2019, to make this Intel active management technology and out-of-band management accessible to as many companies as possible. In the past, Intel AMT required extensive technical skills to operate. 42Gears, has come in to bridge that gap. So a person using Intel AMT can be a layman and use the intuitive power of the SureMDM console, right? So 42Gears provides an intuitive graphical user interface by integrating Intel AMT into its own MDM console. And this has resulted in a joint product greater than the sum of its parts. And we are very proud and happy that along with Intel, we are able to commercialize and productize this particular solution, this particular concept. We have brought our joint solution to market and support it through a variety of marketing initiatives such as social media, webinars, co-branded collaterals, and you need, on-demand market development fund for new companies who want to test the waters for this. So we are always there, and with the winning of our partners is our own win. That's our motto, right? And yeah, Corey, on this good note, would you like to add some more points from your side?
Yeah, thanks, Wapno. We are very excited and very pleased with all we have accomplished working with you guys at 42Gears, and we look forward to continuing our great work together. So, very happy.
Great. Thank you so much. So with this particular context being set and the foundation being strong, let's move to the use cases and how major industries are using this joint solution, right? And if you see, these are the use cases that we have on banking, retail, logistics, IT support, and education. We'll take them one by one, and I understand you would have a lot of questions around this, so please feel free to use the question box, and at the end, Corey, Min would be more than happy to answer you guys. Right. So let's, so I'm glad to see we have some more questions coming in, and we'll answer them also at the end of the session. So the use case one is on banking. As the banking industry adapts to pandemic conditions, and it has been quite terrible, since last 18 odd months. But what we looking at the market and reading all the reports from industry analysts, we anticipate a sharp increase in the use of self-service making in finance, right, in the banking domain. Customers will likely use kiosks to open account instead of going to a bank account office and interacting with a person on one-on-one basis. They will try to use this digital medium and technology in order to open their accounts, check account balances, and do much more with that. And the use of ATMs will likely increase for the same reason as well. So right now, kiosks or ATMs are more important than ever. Excuse me. If banks are, scaling up device use, they need to make sure those devices work reliably. Customers will grow impatient, quickly if any malfunction occurs and might take their business elsewhere. And right, if a customer waits a second, it triggers that, okay, why do I need to wait? I need my items, I need my data seamlessly. I need my activities to be performed seamlessly. and hence a top-performing ATM kiosk in a banking arena would actually help in that particular objective. So with 42Gears and Intel vPro, IT administrators can manage devices across many locations at once from a centralized environment. Right? They can remotely troubleshoot devices even if the operating system has crashed. They can also turn on or off as needed, either scheduled or on demand, so they don't have to spend unnecessary money operating this machine. So basically, right now, we are in Bangalore. Corey is in, United States. Ben is in Australia, and there's a bank which has operations across all these geographies. Using Intel AMT, with a single-handed resource, we sort of based from a Bangalore back office, we can operate the kiosks and the ATM machines based out of Australia and the United States. So that's the power of Intel AMT vPro and 42Gears combined together. And this is a win-win situation for everyone. IT admins can use their time more effectively. Company executives appreciate lower device cost ownership, and customers have a better experience. Corey, why don't you add something more also here?
Yeah, no, banks understand that ATMs and kiosks, like you're saying, keep their business flowing. So if the device goes offline, especially an ATM, it could impact the customers and the bottom line. So using 42Gears SureMDM console in combination with vPro devices allows for quick remediation and uptime and keeps those devices working, so you don't have any downtime. And if you do have any problems, it'd be resolved in minutes, not hours or days, trying to send somebody out to fix it. So yeah, huge improvement on customer experience and significantly reduces the overall cost for the bank.
Absolutely. Thank you, Corey, on that point. Let's move to the next case, which is on retail. Yeah. So moving on to retail, you see many retail firms have realized that a hybrid model split between physical storefronts and online storefronts works best for them. So it's not an entirely brick and mortar, shop, or not an 100% online web page, digital web page, shop. It's a mixture of both of them, right? And a great example could be a GeoMart, like they have Reliance Geo supermarkets in cities, and then they also have an app which caters to that, right? Taking that particular retail use case, if we see, these companies need to dedicate many of their resources to online shopping. It means they need to manage their in-person kiosks, point of sale devices, digital signs, and other devices as efficiently as possible. And this is where 42Gears and Intel can help.
Yeah, exactly, Swapnil. I just want to add by saying that by choosing kiosks and vending machines and digital signs, point of sale devices, and frankly, any device that runs an Intel vPro or AMT, the IT administrators can manage every device from one pane of glass using your SureMDM console. So using Intel vPro devices within your environment really comes down to saving time, and time is critical in retail. So the time it takes to get those systems, back online and working with the customers is just paramount. So using SureMDM and the Intel vPro AMT platforms allow you to remediate those devices immediately and reducing those support costs dramatically. So back to you.
Absolutely, Corey. And just to add, to what Corey said, my friends and customers and partners, if store needs to scale up to meet demand, SureMDM makes it easy to enroll, configure, and deploy devices quickly. Plus, most device troubleshooting can be done remotely to resolve problems faster. And that's been the theme of this particular solution, that you can resolve the problems, have done it remotely, and have a very better and quicker turnaround time. In chaotic retail environments, we all believe that the value of being able to manage every device from a single pane of glass, as Corey stated, is invaluable. Particularly 42Gears software combined with Intel vPro and Intel Active Management technology together is a great way to take control of the retail device ecosystem. Right. So having said that, let's move to the next use case, which is on logistics. So now let's look at logistics. So if you see the slide here, the logistics industry relies on ruggedized mobile computers, RFID scanners, and other devices to get work done and keep employees safe. Still, many logistics firms deal with security threats and an inflated total cost of ownership, and it becomes expensive, it becomes costly, and you know your dollar per minute is quite high here. So if a warehouse is closed for the night, there is no need to keep the devices on. But most firms don't have a way to remotely turn on the device in the morning or turn it off at the end of the day, right? So plus malfunctioning devices traditionally require technicians to visit the warehouse, which can be time consuming or even dangerous. With Intel Active Management technology, admins can remotely resolve most issues on mobile computers in minutes, even if the operating system has crashed. Plus, powering devices on or off according to a predetermined schedule cuts the expensive nature of this, business, right? And the total cost of ownership substantially decreases. Companies who rely on Intel and 42 Gears can manage their warehouses more effectively and slash support costs. Plus, less device downtime means higher potential productivity. Would you agree on that, Corey? I'm very curious to understand your point.
Yeah, Swab, no, you're exactly right. So another example would be a great example of out-of-band remote manageability is power control. And this has been highlighted due to the pandemic. So many customers have been working remotely and not able to go into the offices or their normal place of business. And all they simply needed was power control, the ability to reset that machine remotely and not have to drive in or risk their life to try to go reset a machine. So using Intel vPro and the SureMDM console, you can do just that. So there are many industrial or ruggedized vPro platforms specifically designed for logistics and embedded applications. So the sky's the limit as far as vPro platforms in pretty much all verticals, but there's a lot to be chosen here in logistics.
Right, absolutely. And I think a good summary done by Corey out there for logistics. So let's move to the next use case on IT service providers, right? IT support providers, rather. So, this IT service or IT support providing companies need to do a lot of device troubleshooting. It's the reason they exist. On top of the desktops and laptops, these companies are often asked to fix, and they worry about what other devices might also come in picture. So it's kind of troubleshooting is their bread and butter, right? And namely, they have their own mobile devices they use to communicate with other members of the team, as well as digital signs they use to update people waiting for repairs to be done. If these service providers work with their clients, IT admins, to implement Intel vPro devices and manage them with SureMDM, they can streamline their work more significantly. And the SureMDM console can manage these computers and tablets, plus the company's own phones, digital signage, and other devices, right? Operating system crashes no longer should stop these technicians from remotely troubleshooting these devices. So, for example, if I just take, a TCS or a Wipro would have approximately, 2 to 3 lakh of laptops or, I would say desktops, PCs, among their, office premises globally, and their IT team would be very hard pressed for time, in order to turn around things. And this is where the Intel and vPro solution can help, even if the operating system crashes out, right? And the end result is a faster and more efficient troubleshooting process, and that generates greater customer satisfaction for everyone. Corey?
Yeah. Happy to add some. So again, I can't stress enough that it's all about saving time. So no matter how you want to utilize vPro or AMT, time is exactly what you're going to be saving utilizing it. So it really stands out with service providers. So it allows them significant time reduction to resolution without always having to send out a truck roll or somebody on site. So it allows the IT service providers or managed service providers to grow their business and be able to manage more devices with a quicker turnaround. So when problems arise, you don't have to travel on site so much, and in turn significantly increases their revenue stream. So we see vPro AMT as a bonus in the service industry, and basically it's a win for everyone, so they can grow their business, reduce time, and get more customers.
Right. Excellent, Corey, on that front. So this was about the IT support services. Let's move to education. Yeah, we have education here. So the modern classrooms, as people would be aware, and by this time in pandemic, everybody, the one industry that has got revolutionized is education, right? So the way education was being done pre-pandemic and the education is being done right now post-pandemic are completely different. And we'll speak about that revolution here. The modern classroom is filled with all kinds of devices, including desktops and mobile devices, as well as VR headsets and Internet of Things devices. Schools tend to have devices from a wide array of manufacturers, which can make managing them hard. So, for example, instead of using a blackboard, traditional blackboard, people use digital boards like ViewSonic, right? Just as an example. And this is where the digital challenge comes into the picture. The school IT teams are often understaffed, right? This is a common complaint across the schooling arena, and the issues often take a long time to resolve, and this directly impacts the productivity of the teacher and also results into the lack of understanding from the student's perspective. So over here, we believe SureMDM serves as a hub to manage all these devices together, right? And to speak more about that, SureMDM people can take advantage of SureMDM support for VR headsets and Internet of Things devices. AMT supports lets admins remotely turn on or off the devices so that they can save the electricity or save the cost as and when the devices are being used. Corey, you want to add something more on this education?
Yeah, I just want to stress that no matter what type of device is being used, if it has vPro or AMT sticker on it, or it has vPro inside, the device will perform the same using the SureMDM console. So no matter if it's an i5, an i7, an i9, or a Xeon single socket workstation, if it has vPro, they'll all be the same functionality. So if you have a digital sign or an interactive whiteboard in education, or even an entry-level server at the school, and it has vPro, you'll be able to manage that through the AMT interface through the SureMDM console. So this is a great thing for IT administrators because it creates synergy and a one pane of glass type interface for them to manage their vast growing number of devices within education, and it really helps make them more efficient and save on costs.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with Corey on this point. And I can see a lot of questions pouring in, right? And what we would do is we have briefly touched on all these 5 use cases. We will go and have a quick demonstration on the Intel AMT solution from Harvinder. And also, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to partnerships@42gears.com or swapnil.sahu@42gears.com. We'll be more than happy to answer anything from our end as well. And also have on the Q&A round, Corey and Min also would like to answer a couple of questions. So, but let's get the demonstration first. So over to you, Harvinder.
Thanks, Swapnil. I hope my screen is visible.
Yeah, it is. We can see it.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. So hello, everyone. My name is Harvinder. So in today's demonstration, I will demonstrate how to configure the devices and how to perform the functionality, the management functionality which 42Gears has to offer for Intel devices. So I have 2 devices enrolled with me here in the SureMDM console. Since it's a client-server application, so client should be installed on all the devices. So once we have the client installed, a simple AMT job which would configure the MEBX agent on the devices. So this job should be deployed. We have to provide the admin as a username. It can be changed according to your business scenario, and the password as well. So once we have this job configured, deploy the job on this device. So we have the device enrolled, and the Intel EMT status would be shown as online here. So having said that, once we have the devices, we will have the out-of-band capabilities as well, which we can control from here in the from the SureMDM console. So before I jump into that, let's talk about what 42Gears can do without Intel. So we can install applications on the devices silently. We can remote into the device screen and view what end user is doing, and we can troubleshoot as well. We can locate the devices also. But what if the devices are off? They are not switched on. So there, the Intel EMT comes into picture. So if we have our SureMDM console and the devices ready with us, we will be able to remote into the devices. Even if they are turned off, we can turn them on, power on. The only prerequisite is the devices must be connected with the power source, and it should be connected to a network, that is a LAN cable. So this is the button where we can click, admin can click and have the access to this console where the Intel EMT features are present. So as soon as we go inside this module, so we have each and every minute detail about the Intel EMT, the status, whether the device is on or off. In this case, it is on. If it is associated with some domain, it would be mentioned here. The system ID and each and every minute detail about the device is mentioned in this section. So power operations will give you the access to power up the device, power down the device. So power up if the devices are turned off, the operating system is not up and running. But we have the vPro chipset configured with the SureMDM credentials. So it will have the capability to wake up the device, and admin will be able to see even the Windows logo running. I will show you in a minute. So we can reboot the device, the force reboot, like someone perform that reboot operation physically on the device. That can be performed using this button. We can shut down the device, we can power up the device. Operating system power controls are also present, which can put the device into sleep, hibernate, shut down, and restart. So what are the difference between both of these? The hardware power control refers to if person physically press the button on the device, these all operations represent the same actions when we click here. And OS power control represents to this operation what we have on our screen: sleep, shutdown, and restart. So boot up control is a pre-execution environment PXE boot menu. I have a very good use case which I came across recently. I will explain you that as well. And for the BIOS utility boot up. So in case something goes wrong on the system, admin wants to troubleshoot on the devices, and for that, boot into the BIOS mode is required. So in that case, admin can opt for this option: a restart, a device will reboot, and it will boot into the BIOS. Admin will be able to see the screen and perform all the operations on that. So pre-execution environment is something, the use case which I came across recently is in the retail store. If a few of the machines are down due to some hard disk crash or some reason the operating system is not booting up on those devices. So in that case, someone in person must visit the site, analyze the issue, and fix it up. That will involve a huge downtime. To cover up that gap, if we have our devices enabled with vPro chipsets and those all are enrolled into SureMDM console, we can enable the pre-execution environment with just one click. Admin just have to click here in this button, device will immediately boot up, and it will show you the menu where admin have to mention the network drive from where the operating system must be booted up. So we will have the system up and running in few seconds if we have the solution ready with us. So to talk about resetting to utility, let's first remote into the device and have a look. So this is the device which I have with me for demonstration today. And if I click on setup, yes, now have a look here. So device will reboot into the BIOS, and I will have the access to each and every BIOS menu. So here, since we support KVM, we will be able to perform all the operations from here itself like we do physically on the device. If I want to navigate to any page, I can do that as well. In case I want to exit, I can exit and reboot the machine. So as soon as I perform exit operation, it will perform a reboot operation on the device. So if I connect back, so it would show me a screen where a Windows screen would be spinning, and yep, we have the system up. So this is how it works. So the same way the power up and the power down operation and the pre-execution environment works. So in addition to that, let's talk about the hardware inventories, what the data we read from the hardware of the device, the platform. So every detail about the hardware is has been read from the device and is displayed over here in this section. The version number, the serial number, and the system ID. The baseband, the BIOS, the memory module. So this is a bit interesting because this device have two memory modules, the RAM in it. So both of the RAMs are defined with the part number. So in case any one of the RAM is not functioning, we can analyze from this module itself, and we can order a replacement for it. The storage, again, the model of the storage, it is in this case a Samsung SSD, and the serial number and the storage, how much is available on the device will be displayed. So inventory, access inventory logs, in this we have user logs to offer. So user logs refer to the operations which user has performed from the SureMDM console on the vPro enabled devices. So all the operations will be logged for the audit purpose in case admin wants to troubleshoot in future if something goes wrong or some wrong operation has been applied on the device. They want to fix the problem. So this is the place where they have to go and look for the logs. The hardware logs, what operation has been done on the device. Let's say I applied a policy which would boot up the device or which will shut down the device. So all those logs will be stored in this section. What happened on the device will be stored in the hardware logs. So this is a very high level demonstration about the Intel AMT and its capability. Yeah.
Right. Anything more, Arvind?
So this is out of band capability. So we have a few more functionalities which can be in addition to this can be used, like we can configure the firewall policies on the devices. We can configure the Defender policies on the devices and run the Defender scans as well for any malware detection. So yes, Swapnil, I think this is pretty much it about the Intel AMT and the 42Gears collaboration. So, yeah, over to you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Arvinder, for that quick and succinct presentation. So I think we should move to the Q&A round now. And before we begin on the Q&A round, we will just take a minute for everyone to type in any last-minute questions you have. And I would also request Corey and Min to help the answers for these kind of questions that we have. Of course, anything related to the 42Gears MDM business side, I and Harvinder would be happy to help there. If if we face any time constraints, we have roughly more 15 odd minutes with us. We will respond to the remaining questions by email. So with that said, let's open the Q&A. The first question that I see on my screen is, what platforms are supported with Intel AMT? A very basic and important question. Min, would you like to answer?
Yeah, that's what I can answer. So Intel AMT is currently supported on all Windows and Linux operating systems.
Okay, great. And a related question to that is, what are the requirements for managing Intel AMT device?
An Intel vPro powered device, which is provisioned in admin control mode, once activated, can be accessed by the SureMDM console.
Great. And I think there are a couple of questions on this regard. Will this work with any Intel processor, Min?
Intel AMT technology is, Intel management technology, or Intel AMT, is only supported on Intel vPro processors.
Right. So Intel vPro, i5 and above processors is the answer. And the next question is, how do we identify a vPro chip-based chipset?
Yeah, there's various ways, but the easiest way is to look on the system for a vPro sticker in the front of the machine. Normally, the CPU sticker, if it's a vPro platform, it has a vPro logo on it. That's the easiest way to identify the platform.
Right. So I think the visual identification is the easiest way. And moving on with that, there is a question on vPro chipset. Are the vPro chipset available with all OEM and ODM?
Yeah, good question. Intel has partnered with a lot of OEMs like Dell, HP, Lenovo, ViewSonic, etc. You can contact the Intel team for more details on that.
Okay, great, man. And the next question is regarding the provisioning of a vPro powered device. How do we provision a vPro powered device?
Yeah, a vPro powered device can be provisioned manually or through various Intel vPro AMT management tools, which can be downloaded from the Intel download website.
Okay, great. Right, and I think we have the ACU config, ACU wizard, mesh command tools as well. But as mentioned, I think that's the easiest and quickest way of provisioning a vPro
That is
powered.
correct. Yeah.
And then, what platforms are supported by SureMDM? So I would be happy to take that question. For in-band management, we support Android, iOS, Mac OS, Linux, Windows wearables, right, and Windows CE, right. So for out-of-band management, we support Windows and Linux, right. So that's the question that we have. We have one more question on SureMDM. Can SureMDM manage a device without vPro and Intel AMT? Yes, of course, as Harvinder demonstrated in his demonstration. SureMDM supports both in-band management and out-of-band management. In-band management, we have been doing it for years. We have perfected the art, right? So yes, we can do that. The next question is again on SureMDM. Can SureMDM manage printers, right? So yes, we can absolutely manage printers. We have an IoT framework for that, and I would request to touch base with me after the webinar, and we can discuss more about that. So yes, we can do it, right? There is one more question, Min, on the AMT part here, which says, does AMT work on wired and wireless connection? Min, would you like to answer that?
Yes, with Intel AMT and vPro, Intel AMT can work on both wired and wireless as long as there is a supported onboard Intel NIC or wireless capability. We support both.
Okay, great. And the last is, what are the various licensing models in SureMDM? So to answer that, we have 3 tiers of licensing: standard, premium, and enterprise. Intel AMT is supported only in the enterprise license. In order to discuss more on the pricing and commercials, feel free to drop an email at sales@42gears.com. We would be more than happy to help you there. right? And with this, we have an end to all our Q&A round, right? And yeah, so I think we can now conclude, this webinar. I would like to take this opportunity and thank everyone present, especially Corey and Min. I really appreciate your commitment, and the time zones are different, but you managed to do this. So thank you so much. And I would also like to thank everyone, all the attendees who have registered and spent their valuable time over here, listening to this chat. We will be also uploading this shortly to YouTube. You can also revisit and relook into it. At any point of time, any questions, feel free to drop me an email, swapnil.sahu@42gears.com. Over to you, Corey, for a closure note.
No, thanks, Swapnil, and everybody at 42 Gears for the opportunity to join the webinar tonight in your day. Ming and I really enjoyed being here today, and we appreciate it. Time zone's not a problem. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Corey, Min, Harvinder, and Rohit. And have a beautiful evening and day ahead.